In today's video, we are going to be going over the HSTVL. So this is a vehicle that is under the Agent Twister, along with the M55A1. In comparison to the M55A1, I think the HSTVL is a much better vehicle. It actually feels very nimble, very quick. Definitely a fun vehicle to use. So when it comes to the abilities of the vehicle, the ultimate is going to be the EMP. Essentially, a ball comes down on a drone. You can either drive with it and then throw it at an enemy, or you could drive up to an enemy while you're still holding it, and it'll do about 1200 damage to an enemy. You have the passive Daredevil. While you're boosting, you gain reload speed, and also while drifting, gain your boost back, but you also take less fall damage while using this vehicle. For the primary ability, it's the Recon drone. I'm not too huge of a fan of this ability, just in the sense that I don't find it myself personally useful to me. I can see how it is extremely useful in certain situations, but I don't think it has that much of an impact as people say, but that's just kind of my personal opinion. And then the second is the auto turret, which I think just suits this vehicle very well. This ability allows you to really circle enemies and stuff like that, and is definitely a difference maker in 1v1s, and allows you to kind of get around people super easily due to the slow that it applies to it. And it also can help you pick up kills when you run out of your main gun's ammo. Let's go ahead and go over the build. So for this vehicle, I think the best recon probe is actually the one that applies masked. So overall, I'm not a huge fan of the utility of the recon probe, but when you use the masked recon probe, it allows your whole team to become masked, and this can definitely throw off players. I know it's thrown me off a few times too, when I've seen an enemy masked, and sometimes I can't really tell if it's an enemy or if it's a friendly, and it, in that 1 to 2 second decision of, okay, that is an enemy, can definitely affect the outcome of a fight. The Recon probe energy cost, don't really care. It's quite cheap to begin with. The duration, again, really long duration. I don't really care that much to increase it. And the scan radius, again, I just don't really care too much about actually scanning people with it. I actually prefer the masked, just overall. And then there is the side benefit of it scouting, enemy players. For the second, I use the uncommon. This allows me to just kind of do more damage with it. But, the base one, auto turret duration, I don't think it's that bad, because it does mean you get a few more shots off. Turret range, I don't think it's necessary. It has a decent enough range, so I wouldn't go this over any other ones. And then the epic, it's destroying the track, applies, the penalty track repair. So it increases the track repair time for 2 seconds for 10 seconds after you track the person. The cooldown is probably the best for this, just because having your ability up a little bit faster is nice to have. And then the turret range, whatever. The turret cost, again, I don't really find myself having too much of an energy issue using this vehicle, but that's also because I personally don't spam the probes as much as I see some other people do. The reason why I don't take the epic is I don't like the minimum damage and the maximum damage being changed on this. It doesn't deal that much damage to begin with. I'm just not going to touch it. I think the best options is just the turret duration or the actual increase in damage. This allows you to essentially have it up for longer periods of time, and this just lets you do more damage with it. For the third slot, the firepower slot, I run the Zelius high explosive, but I don't think the high explosive is like the best for this vehicle. I just like running it because it feels fun to mess around with. And it's not the worst high explosive, considering that you have the speed to get around people in order to shoot people in the back to actually penetrate with the high explosive. But overall, the shell doesn't do that much damage. It's about 400 damage per shot, and it's a 5-second reload. And it does definitely change the dynamic of the vehicle from going to a vehicle that assassinates people to more something that is, I guess how you would put it is, it's more of a annoying like backline mosquito more than anything else when you're using the high explosive. There's also other options. So the high explosive is the only one that changes the shell and changes the whole mechanic. Everything else in here will have the auto loader mechanic instead. The slowed option, I think this isn't a bad option in the sense that being able to slow people with your main gun means that you're going to have an easier time continuously circling them. You're going to apply slow with your autocannon, you're going to apply slow with your main gun, and it's going to be a kind of a 1-2 combo, slowing people down extremely quickly, making it hard for them to kind of deal with you. My only downside with this is the AP damage reduction, just because it can put some vehicles above the threshold of you being able to fully clip them out. It's not super common, it's just something that I've noticed. A reticle sized while moving, I don't really care for this. Magazine restock time, I actually don't think this is a bad option. It just kind of helps you get that next clip in a little bit faster. AP damage maximum, I actually think this is a really good common, especially if you're not willing to take the AP damage reduction or go high explosive. This does allow you to kind of get into some thresholds, especially if you're doing ammo crits all the time and stuff like that and surprising people. It definitely allows you to kill a little bit more than you would expect. And yes, it's only 6.2% per shot, but due to the fact that the autoloader has multiple shots that you're kind of pumping into people, it overall is a lot more of an increase than you would expect. When it comes to mobility mod, there's two options that I look at here. Forward speed. Only reason I take forward speed is because funny, haha, I go 100 kilometers now. Engine power doesn't matter that much. Hold traverse and lateral vehicle friction, not something I really care about that much. Then there's the legendary one. This gives you hyperdynamics at 72 and minor Zelius at 85 kilometers an hour. Hyperdynamics essentially helps with the gun performance of the actual vehicle. Not the reload or anything, but just handling of the actual gun itself. So when you're at higher speeds, this can definitely help you out. The vehicle lateral friction, engine power, and hold traverse are also nice things to have. The boost energy mode cost increase. It does hurt a little bit, but due to the fact that you can kind of just drift around in circles in order to get your boost back very quickly in this vehicle, I don't think it's that much of a negative, all things considered, specifically for this vehicle. A 25% boost increase for a lot of vehicles could make or break it. Like if this was on the T62AV, like it wouldn't work out that well. But on the HSTVL, this isn't actually as bad as it seems. The minor Zelius, 15% main gun reload time. If you combo this with high explosive and you're going really fast, it can result in like 3-second reloads. I personally, either of these two options are good. The one thing that should be mentioned over when you're taking the legendary is, simply put, you're not going to be consistently hitting 72 and 85 kilometers an hour in every single fight. So there are times where, yes, it's not super effective, but I think it's a nice thing to have. But I personally just like the forward speed increase. But that's also due to the fact that I like to take another module that I'll show in a second that allows me to go 100 kilometers an hour. Without that other module, I would say the combo between the two modules don't really make sense, and just to run the legendary. So this isn't talking about that module yet. These are the Recon modules. So there's two modules in here that grant thermal vision. Let's kind of talk about them real quick. So the visibility share duration, that's how long data that your vehicle gets. So from your Recon probes, you scouting them and stuff like that, is shared with your team. This increase is actually quite lengthy, and I don't think it's a bad thing, especially if you're doing If once competitive stuff starts to roll out, it might be the better pick overall. Vehicle optics, I wouldn't take it. This thermal vision, the reason why I take it is moving data noise or moving noise data means that I don't show up on the minimap for vehicles when I'm getting close to them, so that I'm able to surprise vehicles a little bit more efficiently because I don't show up on the little radar up at the top right when I'm trying to flank people. That's the only reason why I take it. Otherwise, this one's a perfectly good module to take, and I don't think there's any real downsides to taking this over that. And then there is the final one. I've also run this module before too. I like it because the moment I get traced or tracked by anything, it instantly masks my vehicle, which means that disappears. So if I'm in smoke or something, or if I'm running away and I get traced, instantly masked and the enemies can't see me. It also means that when I'm aiming at people and battle communication range is increased, so aim data value means that when I'm aiming at people, or when people are aiming at me, I'm able to spot them on the radar a little bit easier, and battle communication range just means I'm able to see things that my teammates have scouted from further away. I don't really care about these two general stats, all things considered, to be honest. The biggest part of taking this module is just the traced grants masked, and it is a relatively low cooldown, so it's 10 seconds of masked and then a 20-second cooldown, which starts the moment you get masked. So after it finishes, there's about a 10-second difference between it proccing again, which I think is pretty strong. I like to say that masked is definitely a strong thing for people who pay attention to the environment around them. So if you're someone who uses radar, like the radar to determine where the next enemy is and stuff like that, when people use masks, it's going to affect you a lot more than people people who don't really rely on those tools in the game. So any of these three, it's kind of up to your preference. For thermals, most people, I would just say just take this thermal over the moving noise data, especially if you're going to be taking the legendary module, as certain modules can increase the payload and prevent you from being able to take things. So like, say I was using this epic module, I wouldn't be able to take the actual legendary module because of the payload difference, but running what I have now, you could technically just throw on the legendary. So for the final module slot, this is the important thing. This is like the combo and why I use the increased movement speed is the overdrive grant for every time that I use a repair kit. It's a 10-second overdrive that I get, which allows me to go up to 100 kilometers an hour. It's also lets me get out of sticky situations, like, hey, I'm getting fucked up. I heal myself, and I'm just able to get out of there relatively quickly. It also reduces the cooldown for all equipment. One downside is the boost mode energy cost increase, but like I said, with this vehicle, boost mode energy increase isn't that big of a downside, and I'm happy taking that all day, every day. Let's talk about the other modules in here. Max energy doesn't really matter to me. I don't find myself having energy issues, but if you do find yourself having energy issues in this vehicle, I don't know if this would really even help you because it doesn't actually like increase how much energy you're getting throughout a battle. It just changes how much you can store. So it might help you, but I'm not going to guarantee it will. Energy regeneration. This is what I would take if you're actually having energy issues, as it allows you to get your energy back a little bit quicker. And 10% or almost 10% is no small like margin, let's be real. So instead of a 0.5 energy regeneration rate, it's a 0.55. Sure, you're not going to notice it at the start of a game or something like that, but throughout a game, it's going to become more and more impactful for you than the 112 max energy. The boost mode energy volume, again, I don't know if I really necessarily need this on this vehicle because already has a really high capacity for boost mode. And the regeneration rate, again, the same thing as the boost mode energy cost, the regeneration rate doesn't really matter too much when you can just kind of drift in circles and get your boost back super quick. That's kind of my opinion. You can kind of combo this though with the actual agent skills of when you're boosting, you get 0.5% of your ult. That is where I could see this kind of combo making sense, because the longer you can boost and the quicker that you can get that boost, the faster you can get your ult. So it's not a bad option overall. I just prefer running this, and it's just most of these are kind of like my preferences and stuff like this. For the first equipment slot, I run the repair kit for the 550 HP instantly, since this is a low HP vehicle. I tend to run the 550 HP instantly on low HP vehicles. I don't really run the rebuild kit because 65 seconds is too long in a fast, nimble vehicle where I'm kind of running all over the map. I feel like taking this, if my repair kit is down, I'm out of the fight for too long as I wait to heal up. And same with this, I'm kind of getting into fights super quickly. After one fight, I'm into the next one super quickly. And this does take about 10 seconds to proc. And I'm not saying like it's impossible to use this, because you do have the speed that you could just completely dip from a fight and wait 10 seconds and then heal up and then come back. But for the combo of using the repair, so this essentially gives me 3 uses of overdrive, along with, the ease of use of healing myself in the middle of a fight and not having the longest cooldown overall. For the second equipment slot, this is probably one of the most flexible vehicles in the secondary equipment slot that I can say are pretty good. You have the Phantom Curtain, which launches a smoke screen in front of you. You get 2 charges of this, removes fire, and accelerates fire decay status and stuff like this. But because this vehicle can run thermals, you get a lot more use out of smokes than vehicles that can't. So because of that fact, you can kind of build yourself a wall to hide behind of. You can have essentially pseudo cover by using your thermals. Now, it's not going to work against every vehicle because some vehicles do have thermals as well, but this is kind of like an option that isn't something that I would normally recommend on other vehicles. The exhaust veil, kind of similar. I think the Phantom Curtain is actually just better than the exhaust veil. I think, the smoke duration is similar. The biggest difference is it lasts for 5 seconds, so you can technically have a longer range if you're boosting while you're using this. But this is more for running away. This is more for setting up, in my experience. Teps, still not a huge fan of Teps. There's just something that I just personally don't like about it compared to some of the active equipment. Recovery protocol, this is also a good option for this vehicle. Fixing your tracks and removing other status effects is always going to be good. I don't like fail-safe circuit, but that's just because it's a conditional thing, and it can clear status effects at inopportune times when you already know that you're going to have another status effect applied, like when an M60A2 shoots an ATGM at you. It's going to track you, but it's also going to set you on fire. And if this procs, it's going to repair your tracks, yes, but you're also still going to be on fire, so what was the point of it? So, that's kind of my opinion on the secondary equipments. For the actual agent itself, this is kind of what I'm running. I think the most important, first thing that you should ever get on this vehicle is definitely gas for the 0.5 ultimate energy per second while you're boosting. This is what I was talking about with the combo of having the increased boost energy and increased recovery, really comboing well with this specific agent skill. I think it should be your primary agent skill too, so that you get it as early as possible in a game so that you can start building up your ultimate. From there, it kind of branches out. You have the option to either go the paralyzing quickening second, and these are kind of like if you've already have the agent up to level 10. If you don't, The 25% damage dealt by lights out is also pretty good, so that's the EMP explosion. I prefer this because sometimes I will just run straight into the enemy. Generally, I wouldn't recommend that normally, and this is probably the better option for most people. And you can get it. You could run it before level 10 on the agent. There's also the Plan B, which is minus 5% to main gun reload for each ability on cooldown. Again, not a huge fan of 25% energy capacity. That brings it up to 125. But like I explained before, just because you have higher energy capacity doesn't mean that it is super beneficial. But if you're getting enough kills and you're just kind of running into situations where you're filling up your energy all the way, I could see how it being useful. But essentially, first and then second would be any of the ultimate ones. Third, I would say Plan B, and maybe Spellblade. Not really a huge fan. Fourth one, honestly, this could be swapped for their placement in the actual activation. So Deja Vu allows you to have higher increased track hit points, so it's much harder for people to actually track me. And 50% slow resistance while I'm drifting, so I'm able to keep my vehicle moving quite rapidly while I'm drifting. And you do find yourself drifting quite a lot in this vehicle, so I do think this is a perfectly fine option to take. But you also have the option for minus 50% fall damage. This also stacks on top of the actual vehicle passive, or not the agent passive that the vehicle has under Twisted, where the agent itself, the vehicles also get reduced fall damage, so it kind of stacks on top of that. Personally, I'm not falling that much, and when you do take fall damage, you take fall damage regardless, even if you have like 75% reduction. But there is a difference, I can agree. But overall, that's kind of just my thoughts on Twister and stuff, or my thoughts on the HSTVL. But let's go ahead and jump into a stock game. I would appreciate it if you did leave a like and subscribe. So this is the stock game. So we're kind of starting on Nordoko. I mean, I like this vehicle. Don't get me wrong. I actually find it to be one of the most enjoyable vehicles in the game, and I kind of play it like an assassin. One of the things that, you know, is enjoyable about this vehicle is just kind of the movement of the vehicle and all. The gun is good, the mobility is fantastic, but regardless of that, it's also very good at just assassinating solo targets, which is something that I really do enjoy about this vehicle. One thing that you'll notice me kind of do in this game is trying to get behind people as much as I can, and that's also kind of what I'm trying to do right now, is I'm actually rushing their base because I'm trying to get onto the ledge where people usually snipe. So yes, I am driving directly into their base, and I thought like the actual edge, so for the tick down timer, was a lot closer, but it was still going, so I just kind of beated myself over. Regardless, there was no people sniping up there, so there's no reason for me to stay. We're just gonna kind of pick up this kill and keep on going. So we're, just contesting CCAP. There's another HSTV here with me to help pick up the kill on the M1E1. I'm not too worried about him being able to kill either of us because there's just two of us kind of just hounding him. We're easily able to pick up the kill on him, and we're going to kind of just take the capture. Not too worried about anything kind of getting in the way now. I think one of the good things about this vehicle, is just, again, it can't be overstated as mobility. But even the Recon probes do have a use. Like, I wouldn't have never known this Leo was over here without the Recon probes. But I think one of the things I've noticed a lot when playing this vehicle is people will let you just very easily get around them. Like that Leo, I just don't know if he just didn't see me coming or why he just let me get around him so easily. Unfortunately for me, he does spawn right back in my face. And I'm trying to go for the ledge campers again, but he gets me with a trapping shot, and that does cause me to die due to the tick down timer. So, unfortunately, I do get ass blasted there, but we're kind of just going right back into it. One of the things I like about this map is kind of just the diversity of terrain, which does mean that I can kind of sneakily get around things, especially in this vehicle. And I actually noticed this Leo 2K ST over here. Unfortunately for him, he does miss the pack on the actual EMP, but he still has me in a tricky situation since I have to reload and he should still have shells. But fortunately, he completely bounces that shot, which means I am able to kind of tank the next round that goes into my ammo rack and kind of just survive. Unfortunately, even though I tried to hide from this HSTVL, he very easily found me, and there's two of them. One of the things that is great about this vehicle, though, is just the 1v1 capability that like most people don't really recognize in this vehicle. It's very good at just being able to kind of just 1v1 vehicles if you can get them alone, because you have the slow on your grenade launcher, you have the speed to kind of continuously get around them, your drifting lets you stay around them when they try and turn their turret and stuff like that. Unfortunately, the probe doesn't really help you much in that aspect there. I'm also thinking about going all the way up and seeing if I can get behind them yet again, but honestly, I make a mistake. I should have expected at this point that someone was going to spawn there, and I really should stop trying to get behind them that way, so I kind of do. I swap the angle of attacking since I noticed that we're kind of just losing all the points, so we need to get captures back on or we're going to just lose this game. So I do go and take out the ACAP, and luckily for me, I'm able to spot this HSTVL before he even gets to the ACAP to prevent him from decapping. And it does seem like our team was able to completely remove the cap off of C, and they're even targeting B now, which means that we do still have a fighting chance in this game. I noticed this Leo 2KST heading over to the ACAP, but he is alone, which means he should be pretty simple to deal with, especially that since I have this T62A with me. We're easily able to pick up that kill and get back on the capping, and now that B has been decapped, the enemy team doesn't have any captures left in order to continue pushing out this game. So luckily for us, our team was able to kind of pull it back as well, so that we are in a very strong and stable spot. When we have three bases like this, that 300 cap point difference doesn't really matter too much, as we're going to be able to capture the points a lot faster and kind of even out that score before the enemies are, really able to do much. Yeah, I tried to kill the ALVT, but unfortunately the second part of that clip completely missed, and now I'm kind of in a sticky situation where I gotta deal with this Leo before he can get his gun on me. And thankfully the T62A was able to kind of help finish him off there. So we are able to kind of get rid of most of the people on this flank, but then there's an M1E1 heading towards that cap as well, and we do kind of have to defend these caps quite strictly due to the fact that if we do give them up to the enemy, we are almost even in points again. But that doesn't mean that the enemy doesn't have a chance to take it back. So I kind of use myself as a sacrifice. So one thing with the ultimate on this vehicle is if you do charge it up and then you die, if anyone is in the range, it will still do the damage to that vehicle, even if you do die. Which is a nice thing about the ultimate. But here you can kind of see, like, if you're getting ammo racks and stuff, it's very easy for you to kind of pick apart enemies as well. Like 900 damage to an ammo rack means that, a 3-clip burst is going to do around 2700 average damage as long as you're hitting ammo shots for every single shot. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be super consistent in that. I would say, on average, if you're aiming for the ammo rack, expect like 2 or 3 to just not hit. So I would expect your general 3-round burst to be about 2500, maybe 2400. So very low health vehicles, you're very easily able to kind of just pick them up. In this situation, I need to get over to C. The enemy is capturing C again. The game's super close, and I also can't fight that ALVT, not head on. The ALVT, if it's paying attention to you, is 9 times out of 10 going to win that fight. and I honestly just didn't want to deal with it. I do drop the probe there just to kind of see if anyone is going to be coming behind me. There is this HSTVL. I put a few shots into him, but my worry more now is on the C cap instead. So we're gonna go deal with the C cap. I see this Leo. I honestly thought it was a real Leo who was just reloading, but it fooled me. But luckily, I'm able to do enough damage to this Leo that I can kind of just ram him to pick up the kill. Unfortunately, the HSTVL that I did shoot did come back to get me, and it did bite me in the ass a little bit, because if I hadn't shot him in that instance, he probably wouldn't have come back to try and kill me. But our team has been holding enough points in this game so far that the game is now really close, and we are on the winning side since they don't have any true caps. And we still technically own B, which means that we still get points from B. So we are able to pick up the win on this game. So I did place first on this game, and I think that's one of the things that should be mentioned with the HSTVL is even if you aren't doing the most amount of damage in a game, you have a lot of things that grant you points, which does make grinding this vehicle very easy. Even though I don't like the actual Recon ability, it does give you a lot of points, and being able to get across the map super quickly also means that you have a lot more options with scoring points via caps, or if you're in a kill confirmed, picking up tokens and stuff like that. But let's go ahead and head over into the fully upgraded game. In this game, I am using high explosive, and I also kind of just want to mention as well, I didn't realize I didn't have all 4 perks on, and the only perk that I am missing for the actual agent itself is the first level. So that's either the 50% reduction on damage or the 100% health on your tracks and 50% reduction on slow when drifting. So neither of those are currently applied to the vehicle, but other than that, the vehicle is fully upgraded in this video. So it does kind of give you a bit of an idea of how this vehicle can play out fully upgraded. So we're kind of just blanking, and that vehicle, the M60A2, especially when it's running high explosive, as you'll see here in a second, is definitely one of the biggest like counters to this vehicle. Like, he just did 1300 damage in a single shot to me, and he almost kills me here again with another 1300 damage shot. So you do have to play very carefully in this vehicle, regardless of what build you're running, when you're against vehicles that could potentially be shooting high explosive. Another bigger gripe, and one of the reasons why I don't like the actual one of my biggest gripes with the actual Recon is when you try and place the Recon, sometimes it lags and you're forced to kind of spam it for like a full second before it actually places. Either give it like a charge up time so that you know when exactly to place it, or have it just instantly place the moment you use the ability. I don't know why it doesn't let you just instantly place, right? Just make it a little bit easier for the Recon to use. And if you're holding onto the ability, you can place like 3 or 4 of them in quick succession, right? Like it's a weird thing to me. On the bright side, there are a lot of Leos in this match, which also means that I do have a very nice time at getting side shots and rear shots into a lot of vehicles. As you can see there, I was just kind of trying to see where the best I could penetrate that vehicle was, the M60A2. Luckily for me that, you know, this M1E1 misses his shot against me as well. I think he was expecting me to drive a little bit more forward, but regardless, he's still able to pin one straight into me. I've noticed this Leo a little bit too late. He's able to get the trapping shot onto me, but luckily it wasn't the actual shot, because it would have been leaving me at a much lower HP. In this clip, I am actually not running the thermals on the vehicle. I actually wish I had been. Instead, I'm running the masked whenever I get traced. And there's not really anyone on the enemy team that can apply trace to me in this scenario, so it's kind of a useless module for me in this situation, and would have just been better for me to have thermals. And that's kind of one of the downsides of like the modules is if you pick a certain one, sometimes you could, like I do, in a certain scenarios, it could hold you back instead. Weirdly enough, I get set on fire here. I think there's technically fire like sitting above the rails that set me on fire. And I'm just kind of confused on how it set me on fire here too. But regardless, I'm still going to go ahead and kind of pepper the enemy team. Luckily for me, the M60A2 wasn't focusing me there because, you know, I did have my ass to him, which means I was just essentially a one-shot to him. I'm also lucky like that Leo didn't chase me in that scenario. If the Leo did chase me, I kind of would have just been cooked altogether. I do get the rear of this M60A2, and I also noticed the Object 287 kind of going around. I don't really want this guy to get behind me before I can deal with the M60A2. Unfortunately, I do kind of steal the kill from this other HSTVL. Like, it would have killed him with his ultimate, but regardless, I picked up the kill anyways. I can actually hear the Object 287 coming behind me, and that's kind of the reason why I dip out of there. And luckily, he's not able to harpoon me or anything in time, so I am able to just kind of get away and track him so that he can't continuously chase me. Regardless, though, this round was lost. We weren't able to really actually get onto the point, and there's not much I specifically can do in like an HSTVL to get on points and control points. In this mode, you are kind of reliant a little bit on your team, as in control, you're going to want to have, you know, your teammates be the ones on point, and you're going to be the one that's kind of running a screen to prevent the enemies from recapturing the point. But if your team can never get onto the point and capture the point, they're just going to have an issue with continuously staying on the point. Now, I am completely behind the enemy team, but I know I can't just stay still on this vehicle. I think this is one of the biggest things with this vehicle as well, is especially if you're running like high explosive, is you just can't stay still. If you stay still, you have a much higher chance of dying. So continuously moving around is the best survivability option for this vehicle. As you can see, like, just driving around and stuff, I'm able to keep myself pretty healthy and essentially prevent the enemy from being able to deal with me. Luckily for me, that M1E1 also bounced the shell off me at a weird angle, which means that I'm able to kind of keep my health up all the way. Now, this Leo, he assumed that I was going to be going around, but the moment I shot him in the ass, I would have expected him to turn around. But it seems like he's actually trying to run away from me, but since I used a repair kit recently, I actually have overdrive currently on, which means I'm very easily able to keep up with him as well. So it would have been probably a little bit better for him to turn around and fight me, but in that situation, he would have died regardless. So I could see like the merit in trying to do it the way that he did. As you can see here, I am going to go ahead and drop my ultimate in. I do die, but as you see, like, one of the things with, you know, even though you die, your ultimate still goes off and deals damage, so our team is able to easily pick up the kill on the M60A2, and they are able to cap in that time. I do shoot the Leo, just a dead body, because I don't trust those things. I will always plant another shot into it just to make sure. And this is showing kind of like the great 1v1 capability of this vehicle. Like, he has no real option to actually catch me if his teammates don't help him when it comes to fighting me. Like, even if I didn't get the ammo rack off there, it would have only been 2 more shots before I was able to finish him off. And again, just being on the flanks, being a nuisance is where this vehicle definitely does shine. If he was shooting actual high explosive instead of the ATGM there, I also would have died. So that was very lucky for me as well. Now, I am just kind of waiting and seeing where I can kind of attack, and I noticed that, you know, this Leo 2FK he's really low health, so it is beneficial for our team if I am able to kind of knock him out. And I think about going for the Leo, but then this full health M1 comes around the corner, and I'm going to drop my ult on him to kind of prevent him from being able to get into the cap. Unfortunately, the two of them weren't close enough for me to actually hit both of them with my ult, but I am still able to pick up the kill on the Leo. And now we're just going to kind of focus out the M1E1, and we are able to win that round. However, I will say, and just because I don't want to kind of keep pressing the time, we do end up losing the full game. I did int a little bit on the third cap, but I only died 2 more times relative to the actual game in total. It is an unfortunate circumstance where, you can't do too much. If your team is falling heavily behind in control, there is only so much you can do in an HSTVL, especially if you're only running high explosive. But other than that, thank you again for watching the video, and if you had a good one, I would definitely appreciate a like, and I'm also curious to see if you would like this specific game to be posted fully on my second channel without any talk over or anything like that. And if you do, leave a comment down below just letting me know that you would like to see that. But other than that, have a good one. Goodbye.